As a healthcare professional, I have seen injuries that change lives forever. But every once in a while, a patient comes along who changes your life instead. This is one of those stories. There are moments in medicine that stay with you forever, not because they were the most complicated cases, not because they required the most advanced procedures, but because they reminded you that there is something most powerful than medicine itself. This is the story of a young mother who walked into our Burncenter on the worst day of her life and somehow walked back out with a second chance. She was only 32 years old, a wife, a mother, an ordinary woman living an ordinary life. That morning started like every other morning. She was in her kitchen preparing a meal for her family, with her phone was plugged into charger nearby. Then, within seconds, everything changed. An electric spark ignited near the charging area. The spark triggered a short circuit and almost instantly the kitchen burst into flames. The fire spread faster than anyone could react. She was trapped in middle of it. By the time her family managed to pull her out, the damage had already been done. When she arrived at our burn center, she was one of the sickest patients we had seen. Nearly 65% of her total body surface area had been burnt. Her face, torso, arms, and leg had suffered extensive injuries. But what worried us even more was something we couldn't immediately see. She had inhaled hot smoke and toxic gases. That meant she had an inhalation injury, one of the most dangerous complications in severe burn patients. At that moment, we knew we weren't just treating burned skin, we were fighting to save every organ in her body. The emergency team moved quickly. Large IV lines were placed. Fluid resuscitations were started immediately. Pain control, airway management, temperature regulation, continuous monitoring, sterile burn dressings. Everything happened exactly as it should. Every member of our team knew what to do. That's what we trained for. But sometimes, even when you do everything right, you still know the odds were against you. I'll be honest, looking at her injuries that first day, none of us felt optimistic. As a healthcare practitioner, we never stop fighting for our patients. But experience teaches you to recognize when survival becomes incredibly unlikely. This is one of those moments. Then came day 3. If you have worked in burn critical care, you know that the first few days often determine the direction of entire journey. Unfortunately, things became worse. She developed a high fever. Her body was struggling to fight overwhelming inflammation. Then her urine output began to fall, less and less, until it was almost non-existent. Her kidneys were shutting down. She had developed acute kidney injury, one of major complications after another. Every new laboratory result brought another concern. Every monitor seemed to tell the same story. Her body was reaching its limits. Inside our medical team, we were worried, very worried. No physician likes admitting it. But there are patients who quietly wonder if you'll lose before sunrise. She was one of them. Yet something about her refused to surrender. Whenever I walked into her room, she would ask me the same question. Doctor, I'm going to be okay, right? Not because she didn't understand how sick she was. She knew. She could see the concern on our faces. She could feel the pain throughout her body. But she believed something we couldn't yet believe. She believed she was going home. I asked her one day, "What keeps you going?" She didn't hesitate. "My children." That's all she said. "My children." Those two words explain everything. Every dressing change, every painful procedure, every sleepless night, every battle against infection, every breath she struggled to take. She wasn't fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for the little people waiting for their mother to come home. Sometime her children were allowed to visit. They were still young, too young to understand burn percentages, too young to understand kidney failure, too young to understand mortality statistics. They simply knew one thing. Mom was in the hospital. When they walked into the room, something extraordinary happened. Her pain didn't disappear, her burns didn't heal overnight, but her eyes changed. They filled with life. She smiled despite unimaginable pain. She spoke softly to them. "Don't worry, Mommy's coming home." Every time they left, she held on to that promise. As healthcare physicians, we often prescribe medications, antibiotics, fluids, nutrition, pain medicine. But that family, those children, they became a treatment no prescription could ever replace. Hope, real hope, not false optimism, not denial, but a deep conviction that life was still waiting for her. She was also carried something else that medicine cannot measure. That is faith. She would often remind herself that God is merciful. She believed that if God had written another chapter for her life, no illness could erase it. Even when her body was failing, her hope never did. Slowly, almost quietly, things began to change. Her fever improved, her kidney function stabilized, her urine output returned. The laboratory numbers that had worried us so much finally began moving in the right direction. One day became another day, then another. Every small victory mattered. A better oxygen level, a healthier wound, a strong heartbeat, a little more strength. Medicine celebrate small victories because they eventually became miracles. Weeks passed. She underwent repeated wound care, multiple painful dressing changes, long days of rehabilitation, endless physical and emotional exhaustion. Yet, she never stopped asking about her children. Never. After more than a month, approximately 33 days in our Burncenter, the finally day arrived. The day we had quietly hoped for, but hardly dared to expect. She was well enough to leave the hospital. Not because every scar had disappeared, they hadn't. Not because life would immediately become easy, it wouldn't. Burn injuries leave permanent reminders, physical, emotional, psychological. Recovery doesn't end when patients leave the hospital. In many ways, that's when recovery truly begins. Today, she continues physical rehabilitation. She attends physiotherapy regularly. She works every day to improve the movement in her arms and legs. Every exercise is another step toward reclaiming her life. And the most beautiful part, today, she takes care of her own children again. The very children who became her reason to survive. As a healthcare practitioner, we are often asked, "What was your greatest success?" People assume we will mention a difficult surgery, a complicated reconstruction, an innovative treatment, but honestly, success isn't always found in operating room. Sometimes success is watching a mother hug her child again. Sometimes success is seeing someone walk out of the hospital after everyone thought that they wouldn't. Sometimes success reminds you that medicine can treat disease, but hope gives people the strength to survive it. The patient taught our entire team something we'll never forget. Never underestimate the power of a reason to live. Never underestimate the strength of faith. And never assume you have reached the end of someone's story simply because the odds say otherwise. Statistics guide medicine, but they do not define every human being. Every patient deserves our very best effort. Every patient deserves hope because every once in a while, the patient everyone expects to lose becomes the patient no one ever forgets. If this story touches your heart, remember this. No matter how dark today feels, no matter how impossible your situation seems, as long as there is a breath, there is the hope. And sometimes hope becomes the greatest medicine of all. Thank you for listening.